June time! It's hot, which I can take, I'm a southern boy, but the thunderstorms keep blowing through, so while the power's still on, let's look at questions asked by $3 supporters in the month of May. If you'd like to ask a question for June, just use the links below to Patreon or Subscribestar and become a supporter at the $3 level. So let's begin with Josh Havins, who says, First, I just want you and your viewers to know I am now CEH Practical Certified. I passed my exam on May 3rd. All right, Josh! All right, enough of that. On to his question. What are your thoughts on Biden's decision to create a ransomware task force? It's gonna be completely useless and not do anything. Look, as long as a ransomware hacker does nothing wrong, there's nothing you can do to stop him. Encryption is just too good and too effective these days, and we know how to use cryptocurrencies and do it privately. Like I said on the podcast, Colonial got lucky that the FBI was able to retrieve their funds, because somehow either they had someone on the inside or whatever, I'm not sure what happened, but at some point those funds got moved into a wallet that the FBI had the private keys for. So that's what you gotta watch out for. But I mean, if they had done something like immediately switch it over to Monero and then disperse it out to people, that may have been different because they may not have been able to trace it. Even if the funds get in an FBI-controlled wallet, which is still possible under Monero, they wouldn't be able to verify that it's the same funds that were received in ransom. And there are other ways to prevent that. Just the traditional money laundering techniques that work just as well with dollars. They work with cryptocurrency too. No, if you want to do something about ransomware, the most effective thing is going to be on the prevention side. And I think what it's doing is it's showing us the real problem with the backup systems we've been setting up. Because the idea, and apparently this was the case with Colonial too, restoring an entire system from backups. I mean the whole thing, your servers, your client machines, all of it. The backup systems were originally set up so that, there's one server we have to restore, or we might have these handful of computers that we'll have to get back up and running. The only situation anyone was considering where you'd have to restore the whole network would be something like a natural disaster where the entire building is taken down or something like that, in which case the cost of restoring is just a drop in the bucket compared to all the other rebuilding you have to do. Well, here, everything else is fine, but all your systems have been hit, so you gotta spend millions upon millions of dollars, not just getting things restored from backup, but in everything you're losing and being down. And that was amazingly the case with Colonial Pipeline because they had to get the gas going again. So yeah, they were under a lot of pressure to get things back up and running quickly. That's why they paid the ransom, because they were restoring from backup, but it was being too slow, so they paid the ransom. And as it turned out, there are some reports, I'm not sure how confirmed these are, but there are reports that the tool they gave them to restore from the ransomware didn't work so well. And so it was really wasted money. So that is the sort of thing that's going to make people even more reluctant to pay the ransom on these things. So that's going to be a lot of it, and you can do a lot of that through the insurance policies saying, no, we'll pay you extra for restoring everything from backup, but we're not going to cover paying a ransom for ransomware. That's another way to attack this. But I think we really need to think about ways that an entire system can easily be restored without having to spend, weeks and millions of dollars doing it. That's the direction we're going to have to attack this from. And Biden's Ransomware Task Force just isn't going to be able to do that. I mean, we all know this is for appearances, right? We all know it's so Biden can, stand up in front of everyone and say, look, I'm helping! Yeah, that's what it all is. But that's what any of it is from government. What do you expect? Jason Maltz asks, most Marxist historians these days follow Immanuel Wallerstein, who suggests that you wouldn't have capitalism as it exists today if you didn't impoverish, exploit, and underdevelop the third world, and that our capitalist prosperity depends on forcing poor nations to provide raw materials at poverty prices to keep our costs down. What are your thoughts? Well, my first thought is I don't know how anyone that stupid can function. Why would anyone think that keeping other people impoverished would be an economic benefit? We've known since David Ricardo that we benefit by open and free trade with other countries, and Wallerstein just flies in the face of all of this. He doesn't even have any mechanism showing how this can be the case. He ignores contrary data showing greater gains when trading with more prosperous countries. He doesn't even get his history right. His whole thing is basically a dragon in Carl Sagan's garage, something that can never ever be falsified and therefore can and should be completely dismissed. If you have a more prosperous economy, you have a more efficient economy. That means you can deliver more of a product or a service or raw material or whatever it is at a lower per unit price. And it's just like the old saying, that which is asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. And that's what we should do with people like Wallerstein. The response should be put up or shut up. And finally, Tomasz Urbański asks, what are your thoughts on letter of the law versus spirit of the law issue? I think it should be an and, not an or. Because on the one hand, if someone has abided by the letter of the law, there's nothing else to talk about. He hasn't broken the law, so leave him alone. But if he has broken the letter of the law, you should also look at the spirit of the law to make sure the law isn't being misapplied or abused or implemented in some capricious way. And it goes back to my contention that every single thing that's uncertain should fall to the side of the defendant. If there's any doubt that this is what the law was intended to cover, the benefit of that doubt should go to the defendant. If there's any reading to the law that favors the defendant, then the benefit of the doubt should go to that one, and the burden should be on the prosecution to say that a different reading should apply. I mean, I know we've gotten away from a lot of this, but where's the pity? Okay, that's it for another month. Comments for the comment god, shares for the share throne, and please hit like, subscribe, and the bell to give your tributes to the gods of the YouTube algorithm that it might bless this channel with higher rankings in the search results, or indeed any rankings in the search results. I had someone mention to me that they were trying to look for my videos. They've given up on doing the YouTube search, and they were trying to do a Google search using the title of the video and site:/youtube.com. Which means you're just searching the youtube.com links for that. And they couldn't find any. They went to DuckDuckGo and did the exact same thing. The title of the video and site:/youtube.com came right up. So, yeah, who knows what's going on. But that's a way you might be able to effectively find my videos. You could also do it over on Odyssey, where things like censorship, demonetization, and deplatforming just don't happen. So, check out the links below to my other channel and all the great ones over at Odyssey.com. Also, please consider going to donate.bogosity.tv to keep all of this going, or becoming a regular at Patreon or Subscribestar. Remember, if you join at the $3 level or higher, you too can ask a question that I will answer in these monthly AMAs. Thank you very much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.